All right, and we're back. And so again, we just figured out from that shoe and height example that the correlation coefficient is 0.591. So now we're going to work on interpreting that correlation coefficient. So we can interpret it using a p-value or a critical value from table A-6, which actually it's going to be table A-5 for our book. The slides are based on a later edition. Alright, and so using computer software, if the p-value is less than the significance level, we conclude there is a linear correlation. And so our example with the technologies provided a p-value of 0.294. Now, I'm going to show you how you can find that 0.294 using that same StatsMedic applet. So this is still the same one where I typed in the data there, graphed a scatter plot for me, and then I can come down to the bottom here, where now under where it's saying perform inference, I want to change this option to t-test for slope. And this is what will allow me to test if there's a correlation or not. So I want to make sure, just to see if there's a correlation or not, just that simple, I want to make sure it's on this beta does not equal 0 option. Click perform inference. It also gives me that p-value of 0.294. And so because the p-value is not less than the significance level of 0.05 or 0.01, depending on which significance level we would use, we conclude there is not sufficient evidence to support the conclusion that there is a linear correlation between shoe print length and heights of people. Now, using the table A-6, which will be table A-5 in our case, yields that a critical value of 0.878 for 5 pairs of data. And we can see that because, looking at n is 5 for the 5 pairs of data, we get 0.878 for a 0.05 significance level. So this would be the critical value we need to get more than to say there is a linear correlation. And if it's less than, we say we can't say that there is a linear correlation. So since our correlation coefficient 0.591 was less than that, then we conclude there's not sufficient evidence to support the claim of linear correlation. This is just a little visual of how you could interpret that, depending on if you have a positive or negative correlation coefficient. Since in this case that critical value is 0.878, that table only gives the positives. So say if you had a negative correlation coefficient, you just have to make sure it's less than negative 0.878 or the magnitude of it is bigger than 0.878 in order to say that there is a linear correlation. Now, some other things you can do with this is the value of r squared is the proportion of variation in y that is explained by the linear relationship between x and y. So this is taking that same correlation coefficient, just squaring it, and it can tell you some other stuff as well. And just some other side notes with that, r squared, or sometimes you'll see this as capital R squared, depending on which source you look at. It's also sometimes called the coefficient of determination. And this one is a little more often applied to non-linear relationships as well, just as a side note. But so I want to show you on still that same StatsMedic applet, you can find that r squared value, which of course you could get from just in the calculator typing in 0.591 squared. But the StatsMedic applet can calculate it for you as well. I come under regression models, and I just click that button there. Then I find the r squared value of 0.35 there, which is about the same as that 0.349. Now this will give some extra stuff as well, which actually will be helpful for the next section of chapter 10. But right now I'm just looking at that r squared. And so from that, we can conclude that about 34.9% of the variation in height can be explained by the linear relationship between lengths of shoe prints and heights. So again, it's talking about the percent variation in y can be explained by that relationship. And there are other ways to interpret that as well. Now, some common errors involving correlation. The biggest one is causation. So it is wrong to conclude that correlation implies causality, which is actually something that we went over back in chapter 1, just saying correlation does not imply causation. Now, then averages can suppress individual variation and may inflate the correlation coefficient. Won't have to worry about that so much. And then the other common error is linearity. There may be some relationship between x and y even when there is no linear correlation. So just there could be other types of correlation. Now again, the most common type of error used with correlation is that some people might accidentally say that correlation implies causality, which is not the case at all. And my favorite example of this is how the number of pirates apparently influences the global temperature. So then you could look at this and make a silly conclusion that the less pirates there are, the more global warming goes up. Because this graph is set up not the best, in my opinion. Notice that the scale on the x-axis is going down, but it doesn't go down in a nice fashion. It goes from 35,000 to 45,000, then down to 20,000. So this isn't the best graph to illustrate this, but this data set is a common problem just to show that correlation does not imply causation. So actually, I'm going to use that example just as another way to show that okay, it looks like there is going to be a correlation here. But again, it's just silly to think that, okay, if we have more pirates, then we won't have as much global warming. That's just silly. And so again, correlation does not imply causation. But I'm going to use that data set just for another correlation example. So this was all the data just kind of roughly approximated from that first graph. And this is the scatter plot generated from one of the same Statsmetic applets. I'm going to show you just how I got that. So in this tab, I just had that one of those same Statsmetic applets, and I just typed in the data already. I click Begin Analysis, and it gives me that same scatter plot. Now this time I can go ahead and find, again, the correlation coefficient. Notice it's negative this time. And if I click this button, I'll be able to find that r squared value. So my r squared this time is 0.858. And notice it gives that line now for me after I hit that regression button. So that's where I got this scatter plot from. And then just using those numbers there, again, that correlation coefficient for this data is negative 0.926. And the critical value in table A-6 for this case is 0.754 at 0.05 significance level because I've got 7 pairs of data here. So when I look at the table, I look under sample size of 7. So I got a 0.754 significance level, or sorry, critical value at a 0.05 significance level. At a 0.01 significance level, I've got a critical value of 0.875. And so in either case, the magnitude of this correlation coefficient, or the absolute value of it, is bigger than either alpha, which both could conclude for me that there is a linear correlation. And then another way I can use that r squared value for this case is that so about 85.8% of the variation in global average temperature can be explained by the variation in the number of pirates. So different phrasing from before, but just another way I can use the r squared value. All right, now for part 2, just to see how we can use a formal hypothesis test for correlations. So we wish to determine whether there's a significant linear correlation between two variables. Again, some of the notation we're going to use is n is still that number of paired sample data. R is the sample linear correlation coefficient, and then rho is that population linear correlation coefficient. So rho is what we're going to be testing using R. So some requirements for a hypothesis test with the correlations is the sample of the XY paired data needs to, of course, be a simple random sample. Still same ideas from before, that visual examination of a scatter plot should see somewhat of a straight line pattern. And then we want to just basically minimize outliers as much as possible. Then for a hypothesis test for just correlation in general, the null hypothesis will always be rho equals 0. So the null hypothesis is saying that there's no linear correlation. And then the alternative hypothesis being rho does not equal 0, just there is some kind of linear correlation. Now there's a different way we can get a test statistic in this case. And then for making our conclusions, we can either use critical values from table A-5 in our case, not table A-6, or we can use technology to get p-values as well. And same ideas from before. If the magnitude of that correlation coefficient is bigger than the critical value from table A-5, then we reject the null hypothesis and conclude there is sufficient evidence to support the claim of a linear correlation. If it's less than or equal to that critical value from table A-5, fail to reject the null hypothesis and conclude that there is not sufficient evidence to support the claim of a linear correlation. So again, we found previously from the example of Shu and Heitz that the sample correlation coefficient was 0.591. So when we conduct a formal hypothesis test of the claim that there is a linear correlation between two variables, we can go and use a 0.05 significance level. We'll usually use 0.05 or 0.01 for these types of problems. So here's how we set up the claims and such. And again, as we found from before, the critical value would be plus or minus 0.878. Again, just looking under 5 sample pairs and then significance level, so 0.878 is that critical value. If it was bigger than this, reject. If it's not, fail to reject. And so 0.591 is not bigger than 0.878, so we fail to reject the null and conclude that there is not sufficient evidence to support the claim of a linear correlation. Now, how you can find the test statistic to eventually get a p-value is using this formula here, where instead of n-1 for degrees of freedom, this time it would be n-2 for degrees of freedom. And this method I would not suggest as much, but I'll just run through it real quick for you. So you just plug in those correlation coefficients from the sample size, all into this formula. And then you can find or estimate p-values based on table A-3, which is the t-table, actually. So when we plug all this in, we'll get a test statistic of 1.269. And when I go to table A-3, so the t-table, that tells me I'm using n-2 degrees of freedom this time, so I'd look in the 3 column and just go over, and essentially I'm looking at area in 2 tails. I'd be looking in this column here, so sorry, this column, so area in 2 tails 0.05, so I'd have a critical value of 3.182, but this is much less than that, so that again could also tell me that I failed to reject the null in this case. And there are technologies that can provide that p-value of 0.2937. And again, I recommend the Statsmatic applets for this. So I'm going to go to one of those here for the Shu and Height data. Now how I can find that, again, is just down here, and this is something that I already did before, just under this perform inference. Make sure this option is t-test for slope. This option is beta does not equal 0. You get that p-value of 0.294, which is much bigger than 0.05. And so because that p-value is greater than the significance level of 0.05, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. And we conclude there is not sufficient evidence to support the claim of a linear relationship between shoe print length and heights. All right, now you can also do one-tailed tests for hypothesis tests here with correlations. And I'm going to save that for just a short part of the last parts of these videos.